We are live, but I forgot to unmute us. So, Hey, welcome to the Stick to the Plan podcast, guys. I'm Kevin. This is Russ. We made it another Monday.
All right, we've been through worse. So
that wasn't bad. I caught it right away.
Kevin, I am so ahead of the curve on guests the last couple of weeks.
I know, insane.
I had a couple of calls and questions about people asking about what's the Michigan GOP or the RNC doing with lawsuits or election integrity and things like that. And somebody recommended that I get somebody on there that knows a little bit about that. And I thought of Dr. Rob Steele.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we had him set up midweek. So
yeah, last week you had him set up. We talked about it.
I think I had the last week's guest.
Here's Dr. Steele right here for you.
Mondays come around quick, and here we are again. Ladies and gentlemen, this is, by the way, I'm Russ Jennings.
Oh, yeah. Are you?
The co-host of the Stick to the Plan podcast.
I'm Kevin. I'm here.
And I think you guys know that. And today's guest is my good friend, RNC Committeeman, Dr. Rob Steele. How are you, Rob?
Doing great, Russ and Kevin. Thanks for having me on. Important topic.
Absolutely.
Yes, it is. We've had you on our stream before back in our early days.
Yeah. One of our more popular shows, actually.
It actually was. Rob, you were one of our more popular viewed shows. The topic was important at the time, and we had you on. And by the way, I think we've been doing this now a year.
Yeah, I just got a thing on Facebook that said I just posted the logo 1 year ago yesterday.
Yeah, we've been at this a year from various guests. Some weeks it's just Kevin and I, and honestly, sometimes that's our funnest weeks. Although they're not the most viewed by no means. But,
no.
But we do have fun when it's just Kevin and I. Just to let everybody know, we're dealing with a new program today.
Rumble came through for us.
Yes, so. we were having some issues with a remote guest, and very frustrating.
Yep.
And then Kevin jumped through some hoops, and I think we're streaming well with the guests today. The delay is very minimal.
It looks good on my end.
But if you notice, our background is a little off. We got some adjustments to do, and it looks like Kevin and I really, really like each other. We're in really tight. That is my firstborn child, and we do get along well. But we're not normally sitting together this close. But we're going to get on this. So here we are. How many days away from Election Day?
15, right?
Is it 15 or 13?
2 weeks from
let's see. Today is Monday, so it'd be 14, 15 from Election Day. But of course, we're in elections now. Of course, vote early.
Oh yeah, early voting.
Yeah, I've been spending a lot of time in Trump Force 47 campaign headquarters in Jackson. We've been fortunate enough to have one of many Trump Force 47 offices, headquarters in Jackson, and we've been sharing office space with them in we call it Trump Tower, a beautiful suite in the Commonwealth Center where our main headquarters normally is. And anyways, as people come in, I'm amazed that more than I expected are voting early. But then there's a lot of people I got to talk about, vote early, and how it's a strategy.
A lot of people still don't understand it.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be way better than before. I was on a call last night, and the data for Republicans voting early is a whole lot higher than we anticipated.
Excellent.
And I try to tell everybody all the time, it's a strategy. That it's a strategy that President Trump encourages. And me as a old school Republican, where I always voted on Election Day, I encourage it highly. Now, I do encourage absentee voting, but I like to vote during the early voting. In Jackson, you can do 9 days. I go to a location and fill out my ballot. Either way is fine. So I'm glad you reminded me of that, Dr. Steele. Once again, Dr. Steele is here. Dr. Steele is the Michigan RNC Committeeman, one of two committee people that represent the state of Michigan at the Republican National Committee. And we're going to talk a little bit about the efforts that the RNC and probably the Michigan GOP have put forward to make sure that our elections are as secure as possible. And Rob, if you want to just start in, and then I'll build some questions from there. We'll go from there.
Yeah, sure. Let me just make one comment on the early voting. It is definitely a strategy. Starting back about 18 months ago, we came out, the RNC, with a website called Swamp the Vote, Bank Your Vote, and the whole thing was to educate people on voting early. Yes, it is a strategy. The Dems have been very good at that, so they play the whole 4 quarters, and we're used to playing the last 2 minutes where we really focus on voting on Election Day, which is what we all want. Of course, that's not what we have in Michigan anymore. After Ronna resigned and we had Chairman Whatley come in the Trump campaign combo, we changed that to Swamp the Vote, but basically serves the same purpose to help people find out where they can vote early, how to vote early, and it's got a website for each state. So yes, it's a strategy. The Dems have been good at it. They get their people out to vote early and then spend all their time chasing around after what we'd refer to as low propensity voters. And so this is our first real time doing this, and so we're learning. But yes, you are absolutely right. The data is that Republicans are voting early, and in many locations doing it quite dramatically, and even better than Republicans. And as you know, in Jackson, you also have Turning Point Action, and Turning Point Action has been doing a lot of chase the vote and targeted precincts, which, Jackson happens to be a county with a lot of those precincts. So we're working hard. Also, AFP and then Elon Musk's PAC is also working on early voting and chasing votes, getting people to turn their votes in. So yes, vote early. If you're more comfortable voting in person, then as Russ mentioned, we have 9 days of early voting, and that starts on the 26th of October. You can go to wherever your website tells you to go. Sometimes it's your city hall, but Russ, you may know more. But anyway, get in there and vote. Get your vote banked so that we know who to go after in those last few days. So I think that's enough on the early vote, but yes, do it. We wish it wasn't that way. We want 1 day voting with an ID and all cause and 4 cause absentee, but that's not what we have. So we better play by the rules. Election integrity, man, what a topic. And Russ, you had mentioned, I think we were just coming on about the consent decree. And we've tried to educate people on this because we take a lot of heat for being unprepared on election integrity. And I think it really all goes back to 1983, when, of course, the Dems, no different in 1983 than 2024, claimed the Republicans are racist and tried to suppress the black vote. Their playbook doesn't change much. So in 1983, they sued us in a couple of townships in New Jersey. And in these townships in New Jersey, there was a federal lawsuit brought because it was voter rights, and ended up as a consent decree against the Republicans, where we were no longer allowed to participate in election day operations or ballot security. And that started in 1983. So in 2016,
something a lot of people don't know too.
Yeah. So from 1983, I'll cover the history. But for all those years, the Dems were making everything easier to cheat and easier to vote, and breaking down all kinds of rules, and all their non-government organization, all their, political non-partisan, they're partisan, but non-party organizations spending a ton of money on this, suing everywhere. So in 2016, that consent decree was still in place when I came onto the RNC with President Trump. And we'd been trying to get out from under this consent decree about not participating in ballot security. And so in 2016, it was renewed every 7 years. So in 2016, when I came on, my very first meeting as an official RNC person, the gavel comes down in the convention, you get certified to be on the RNC, that's when the term starts. And they said, all the new people in this room over here. So they took us all in this room and began a 90-minute presentation on the consent decree and the fact that, no, you cannot mention voter ID. No, you cannot mention legal voting, ballot challenging, all that kind of stuff at the RNC. Now, the state parties could have done it theoretically, but we were trying to get from out under this consent decree, and that's how bad it was. Literally, the first words I heard as an RNC member is don't mention voter ID. That was literally the first words I heard as an official.
Basically, a big gag order.
Yeah, it was. It was huge. And so we couldn't do anything. We couldn't say anything because anything we said, they would immediately go to the judge and claim racist. They're still trying to suppress the vote, keep the consent decree going. And so it did. It kept going. because the judge, in this circuit court and the feds made it a nationwide thing. And so finally, that judge died in 2018. And at the very tail end of 2018, or the very first beginning of 2019, the consent decree ended.
Okay.
So after, 36 years, we were unable to do anything having to do with election integrity or security. So
that's insane.
Yeah. So that was for 36 years. The Dems spent $150 million breaking down our election security laws, getting rid of voter ID, claiming suppression, all the things that they do, making it easier to vote and easier to cheat. So 2019 or whatever it is comes along, and Ronna puts together a committee on elections chaired by Harmeet Dillon, who I think most of your listeners will know who that is. She's the RNC committee woman from California, big attorney on TV all the time. And she headed up a committee of 12 people. I was one of the 12 out of the 168. And we did a deep dive of what in the heck has happened over the last 36 years while we've been having to sit on our hands. So we took about almost a year, did about a 60-page legal analysis that we forwarded on to the chair and exec committee at the RNC with the strategies to go in effect. So that we got up to I think it was the first month of 2020 or the last month of 2012 or 2019. And so here we are. 37 years, the first month of 2020, and we're just getting our first analysis done on what's happened over this 37 years. So we just sprung into action. I mean, we didn't have any staff. I mean, you know how it is. If you're starting a football team and you don't have a coaching staff and you don't have players, you don't have a farm team, and you're starting fresh, we don't have people that were going through these reps. We don't have people that were doing these lawsuits. We didn't have people that were, analyzing these laws. And so we're jumping on. But by 2020 spring, we had already filed dozens of lawsuits, including in Michigan. So let's zoom in.
You probably have people on your team that weren't even born when this decree came out.
Oh, absolutely. And by the way, I have my got my Auto Workers for Trump shirt on because
I like it.
Yeah, well, I mean, when I was in med school, I used to work UAW during the summers in a parts plant, so I'm an official member of Auto Workers for Trump. But on the consent decree, anything else you want me to cover on the consent decree itself, or dive into what's happened since that time?
I just want to make a point, an observation. By the way, I had no knowledge of the consent decree until you brought it up on the stream back in the spring, and I'm politically active. I'm part of what's going on, and so I'm glad that you explained that to us. I would expect that. So since we had so many issues in 2020, and the decree was lifted in 19, I expect that the RNC probably didn't anticipate that it was going to be lifted. Like you said, we weren't geared up to defend election integrity. And do you? I have a feeling that the Democrats knew that going into 2020, and they gave it everything they could to take advantage of that, knowing that we didn't have the team together to going into 2020 in the 2020 election cycle.
Well, I said, I think that there's a lot of people, even you, didn't even know about it in 2020. It was just here that, I think it was just, they couldn't talk about it for 35 years.
Yeah, you couldn't even talk about it to tell a guy like me.
Well, like I say, nobody knew about it.
Yeah.
And so I think the key point that you just were discussing is intellectually we were prepared.
Yeah.
But it's like I say, you can be a coach that knows every play, but if you don't have your players yet who have been doing the reps and running your plays, then you're still fresh. And so that's what happened in 2020. But the other thing that, or that's where we started in 2020. But of course, in 2020, we also had COVID.
Sure.
So COVID changed all these laws, many of them illegally. And so we were suing like crazy. And in the 2020 cycle, even though we didn't have a team really leading into 2019, we still filed 100 lawsuits that cycle. I think it was like 93 lawsuits in the 2020 cycle, in those few months. So we weren't sitting around doing nothing. But let me use Michigan as an example, because this is critical that people understand, because it is so frustrating. So in 2020, we filed suits in the spring against Benson on her mailing out absentee ballot applications, on cleaning the voter rolls, and on signature matching. So between the spring and June, we filed those 3 suits, and I'll focus just on those 3 in particular, because they were critical, and they were all based around COVID, where she sent out a known bad voter file absentee ballot application to every voter in the state of Michigan on that voter file, which we knew was no good. And so we ended up winning all 3 of those lawsuits. She was 0 for 3 on signature matching, mailing out the applications, and in cleaning the voter rolls, but they were all decided in 2021 spring after the election was over.
Right. I think they knew that's the way that was going to play out.
Well, right. And you may, if you're people who follow X, Elon Musk just tweeted out something about Jocelyn Benson and cleaning the voter rolls, saying, hey, we know you're trying to run out the clock and do the election before you clean the voter rolls. And so, and Jocelyn, Whitmer's in the news all the time, but I will tell you, Jocelyn Benson is the scary one of our triumvirate running the state. She went to Harvard Law School. She was a federal law clerk. She studied at Oxford. She was the dean of a law school. And she's kind of in the background. I mean, she keeps coming up in these lawsuits, but she's not out there in front of the camera saying things. And she's I think it's about 0 for 10 now. We beat her 10 times now. And she's not doing rulings that she's going to lose 10 times because she doesn't know what the decision is going to be. She's making those decisions because she knows there's going to be delay based on a lawsuit and she's going to lose, but more time is going to get run off the clock. And that's exactly what's happening. So we just keep beating her over and over. And then sometimes we've been beating her twice on the same thing because she ignores it the first time. Because the judge will rule and they don't do anything, right? The courts don't have any enforcement power. If the attorney general doesn't do anything, if a sheriff doesn't do anything, if a prosecuting attorney doesn't do anything, we're still stuck where we are saying, fix it.
Right, yeah, her pal's the attorney general, so
Right.
we're in a pickle there. So yeah, I get it.
Okay, so now we're suing the crap out of her. In fact, RNC right now in this cycle, the 2022 cycle, we've got about 120 lawsuits going in various states, more in Michigan than anywhere. We're not the lead on all of those. Some of those were a friend, some of those were amicus, some of those whatever, but it's about 120 suits in about around 30 states. Obviously, we're focusing on the key states. And isn't it interesting when you look at Ohio and Florida, which improved their ballot security, when Florida and DeSantis fixed Broward County, which is where all the votes came from, they're no longer battleground states.
Oh, imagine that.
In Ohio too. Right. Yeah. And so we know that this is a problem that needs to be fixed, and it's keeping them in the game. Just like we see now in this cycle, all they do is talk about abortion in Michigan, which is not on the plate in Michigan. It's a constitutional amendment now. Abortion's not
we're
part of it, and that's all they talk about.
Yeah, right. We're an abortion state. It's just a political stunt that they're playing on voters. Unfortunately, we are an abortion state. So.
Yeah, and we have uninformed electorate, and they go after people who are uninformed on issues that they don't. They say, well, that sounds good, but regardless,
huge amount of misinformation I've noticed.
Yeah,
huge amounts.
Yeah. So let's get back to the election integrity, I guess. So where we are.
Yes. Where we are.
Yeah. So we've got 2 recent filings, three real important recent ones. One having to do with poll workers. The state law says that Republican and Democrats need to have the same number of poll workers in each location. And these are paid positions. These are not volunteer. You're paid by the state or local unit of government. You get training. You are there with the ballots, with the people voting. You're not watching from afar, standing behind a pizza box taped on a wall. You are there at the table with the ballot. These are the most important positions. Hey, if you can't work and you don't want to get paid and you want to be a watcher, great, be a watcher. We'd love that. But we need workers, and we still need workers. So for your listeners there who are not busy on election day and you're not working, you can go to protectthevote.com/Michigan, protectthevote.com/Michigan, and sign up to be a poll worker. Be paid to sit there and protect your vote. And then we have 8 trainings left between now and October 31st. And these trainings are happening on a regular basis. If you sign up, you'll get plugged into a training. We've been certified to do training, and then you can get one of these positions. We're still looking for people in Wayne County, and we're looking for people in Canton to count absentee. See, because the big thing now is everybody's voting early. And so now we need to fill these slots because the Dems are playing shenanigans with the various rules about how they fill the slots. And so, they're being slow on filling the absentee voting equality. And so, but there's going to be a lot of votes there.
Right.
There's so many early votes. And so we need people to go to protectthevote.com/Michigan, sign up to be a poll worker, be paid, and get your training, and go to work and collect your paycheck.
What's up? So I want to add, Rob. I want to add to something that that I'm up to speed with here. All the county chairs, party county chairs, get a list of every election inspector within your county. I just received that last week. A couple weeks prior to that, we had a young man in here from the Trump campaign. Part of the election integrity, and this is how serious they are with it. It used to be I'd get that list. All right, you don't know the names. I send that list now to the Michigan GOP. They cross-reference every. There's supposed to be cross-referencing every election inspector in every county. Now I know their focus is Wayne County, like you said, Canton. But yeah, they've asked me to forward that to them. That they can cross-reference every name. Their concern is that a person for a couple of decades in a rural county like Jackson County, a person says, "Yeah, I'm a Republican poll worker." Mm-hmm. Are they really a Republican or not? And so they really wanted to cross-reference that, and I've never seen that before. That's how serious they are about this. But I did see when I received the list for Jackson County, all of our townships were pretty solid, but I did notice in the city of Jackson, for example, there's 98 election inspectors, and there's only 36 Republican election inspectors. That's a problem. It's supposed to be 50-50. But what I'm since finding out now is that 50 Republican election inspectors haven't applied for the jobs. So my point here is, even in the city of Jackson, we need Republican election workers, and there's positions available for that to balance that out to make it 50-50 Democrat, Republican.
Yeah, so the answer to that is for those people listening and the people that volunteer to go to protectthevote.com/Michigan, sign up to be a poll worker and get your application in. And so that we can fill these spots and say, look, here are the people. And so we've got, since July, we have filed 6 new lawsuits in Michigan. In July, we've sued Whitmer and her administration because they were using small business administration funds to register voters, which was against the law. In October 15th, we sued about the election inspector, or about, this is just a couple days ago. We had requested video footage from the drop boxes because part of the rules under COVID for allowing the drop boxes, which is now part of our constitutional amendment, unfortunately, but it's there, but it includes video. And so we asked for video of the prior ones from the primary, and they dragged their feet, and said, oh, it's been deleted. It was recorded over after X number of days. It's recorded over automatically. And of course, they just waited till the number of days where it was over recorded. So we've sued about that. And then on the election inspectors,
they have to hold on to that for longer than that.
It was FOIA. It was FOIA. So legally, they were required. Yeah, and then they deleted it. In August, because it's classic. In everything they complain about for the Republicans is it's total projection. They are doing 100% of everything they accuse us of.
Oh,
If they accuse us of doing something, that is their strategy.
They're good. They're good at that.
The guilty.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, no. So in August, yeah, we're the ones getting rid of democracy when they have a presidential candidate didn't get a vote. So in August, we sued the city of Detroit on the poll worker question. And then to get to what you had in July, so we nominated in Wayne County 675 election inspectors out of about 2,500. We didn't have 1,200. We had 675. And they accepted 52 out of the 625 we put in. And then they hired another 258. They called Republicans, as you were saying. You couldn't tell where they're Republicans now. We did dive on those, and most of them weren't Republicans. And so they ended up hiring out of the 2,800. They had 2,800 Dems and only about 50 real Republicans and another 250 fake Republicans. So it was 7.5 to 1 rather than quote 1 to 1. And so we won that. So they're letting us fill more, and that's why we still have empty slots we're trying to fill, and we're at 80% of our goal, but we need people to go to protectthevote.com/Michigan and sign up. So we've got room to play there. And then on September 10th, we filed another lawsuit against Benson, and that one was about making sure that the ballot envelopes were checked when they were removed, right? Because once that ballot is out of the envelope, there's nothing that can be done. It can't be matched to who put it in. Can't be matched to a signature. It can't be matched in any way. So she had given guidance that says you don't have to mark that the signature's been verified. You can just take it out. So we won that lawsuit. Now they have to check the signature. Then on September 18th, we're busy in Michigan. I'm telling you.
Oh man.
We filed. Benson had also given guidance saying that you don't have to match the serial number on the envelope to the poll book.
What?
So in other words, you could just have an envelope coming from anywhere, and you could just pull it out, throw the envelope away, and not match it to the poll book and say, well, this was Bill Smith. So yeah, we got a Bill Smith. The number doesn't match, but we got a Bill Smith. And then that vote counts.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, so we had a hearing on 26th and then on the 3rd, and she was ordered to follow to follow the state law, which was to match the serial number. So they even conceded that the mismatched serial numbers could result in voter fraud. So we won that one too.
Of course.
But the case is still going, right? I mean, they never end, right? Because they appeal and all that goes on. Okay, and then let's see, what's the most recent one? Well, no, second most recent. The most recent was the deleting the video. But on October 8th, we filed on this overseas voter thing. And you may have heard of this, Yo Cava.
Yes, just recently.
Okay, so she sent out guidance that said, with some conflict in state law, and it's like all lawsuits, there's questions, there's two sides. And we sued to say that someone who puts in a ballot from overseas that hasn't proved residency in Michigan can't vote in Michigan.
Right, it's logical.
Okay, well, it is, but that wasn't the guidance. The guidance was if the parents had lived in Michigan, for example, the children can vote in Michigan. So that one is on, on October 17th. So that's just a couple of days ago. We had our last hearing, but there was no.
I knew it was the most recent one that I've been getting news on.
Yeah, no ruling on that one. And the weird thing about that one is the Dems are complaining, right? I mean, they're the ones that have been the lawfare experts for 38 years, right? For 38 years, all they did was file lawsuits and keep us in the dark, And so now we're finally caught up to them and filing lawsuits left, right, and center, and on the offense, right? And now they're complaining about all these lawsuits and voter suppression, naturally. But they said, oh, well, this only affects 10,000 potential voters. Okay, well, in 2016, Trump won by 10,704. But but the reality is another Dem group, one of these groups who's strategizing on harvesting votes, which isn't legal in Michigan, but chasing votes, let's call it that. You know, they said we think we can get up to 250,000 of these UOCAVA votes.
That's way more than 10,000.
Yeah, you're good at math, Kev, man. You nailed that one right off. You know, we're talking exponential differences. Yeah. So
that's why he makes the big bucks.
Yeah, the big.
It is, and you know, in Pennsylvania they've sued. Here in Michigan we've sued. Pennsylvania, they have a federal lawsuit. Ours is a state lawsuit. And there are some other states because they're just targeting the states. So the UOCAVA, they were focusing on Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. Oh my goodness gracious, can you imagine? And they were saying in all these states they expected to get hundreds of thousands of votes. And because a lot of these ballots you can get via email without having to prove your identity or give your social security or prove your residency.
I have 15 emails. And I've never had to do any of that. I can be whoever I want in my emails.
Right, yeah, I got 5, so.
Yeah, I just counted the other day. It was insane.
Yeah, well, so there's you know, so there's a lot going on, and there's more lawsuits in Michigan, but those are just the 6 since July.
Jesus.
You know, and then there's 3 others this year, more poll worker watcher stuff and rules regarding how close they can be and how much they can, you know, participate. They tried to stop us on that.
Rob, do you know where we're at all with the Wayne County election inspectors? I mean, I know we've done great strides. I was on a call a couple of weeks ago. They were talking about the problems that you discussed where they were only accepting, they weren't accepting the ones we've submitted. I think we've come a long way on that. I think the biggest problem right now is finding applicants. But as far as you know, do you feel that, does it sound like Wayne County is finally trying to participate?
Wayne County, they've been ruled against. They've been told by the judge to fix it, and it's up to us to fill the slots. And so we've been putting people in there like crazy. Like I say, it's hard, you know, because it's the same thing. It's like when I was talking about, we didn't have attorneys that had been filing lawsuits on our team for this, right? I mean, they'd never run the plays. They knew what to do, but you can look at the play on the chalkboard, but until you go out there and run, it's like Mike Tyson always said, your strategy goes out the window, and as soon as you get punched in the face, you know, and as soon as you have to go to court, I mean, you've got to have some reps. And so we don't have they've always had thousands of poll workers because they filled them automatically because they didn't have anybody else to fill them. And now we're still building our team of election inspectors. So now once we have these poll workers this time, next cycle, we'll have a whole groundswell of people who've already been trained and actually worked and been paid and thought, hey, that was pretty sweet money. I think I'll do that again. So
by the way, I heard Wayne County, that's a $150 day. You know, like I said, we encourage challengers and watchers. That's fine. But you know, that's the sweet part here about being a poll worker, an election inspector, is that you get paid for it. I think each municipality pays differently, but I did hear Wayne County, that's $150 for a shift. You know, and you're part of the action. You got to be part of the system in order to change the system. And it's amazing to me, in all my years in the GOP, how we used to always push for challengers and watchers. And rarely did we bring up, hey, let's be part of the system. Let's be the workers here. And but that's been a big push for at least the last year here. And it's what totally makes sense to me.
It gives you an opportunity to make a difference and participate and be compensated for it. You know,
and it's key. I was at a Trump cruise, you know, like on Woodward, where the Woodward and Reed cruise is. We had a Trump cruise out of the Oakland County Republican office, which is great. We had about 150 cars all decorated. It was a great time.
I wish we'd do 150. We've done 20, 30.
Yeah, no, that's good. It was great. Yeah. So we were down there, and we had people. We were trying to register workers, and we had, you know, booths and all the stuff set up. And I'm talking to some guy, and he's whining about why didn't the RNC, the MIGOP do this, and why didn't they do that? And I told him about the consent decree, and I didn't know about that. So, well, why didn't you do it last time? I said, we did everything we could, 100 lawsuits in 6 months or 8 months, whatever. And then I said, oh, so you're going to volunteer to work? And he goes, well, no, I heard there was all kinds of problems, and it might be dangerous, so I'm not going to do it. I said, well, there you have it. It's, you know, everybody says, well, why doesn't the MIGOP or why doesn't the RNC do something? the RNC, well, let me first say about the MIGOP. There's maybe 5 or 6 people being paid. It's a entirely volunteer organization.
Oh, well, I'm here to
and the RNC on the election integrity thing, and let me close this loop because this is very important. Right before Ronna resigned, she had started a full-time election integrity department. So we now at the RNC have a 24/7, 365, not an election cycle, not certain parts of the year, but a full-time election integrity department. Right now, there are more than 75 full-time employees in that department. There's 10 or 12 back in DC at the headquarters, including a communications director to try to get some information out about this stuff. Lawyers and like in the state of Michigan, for example, we have more than 3. We have, I think, 5 full-time people on the ground. And then we have 2 attorneys who are of counsel. And then Chair Hoekstra just had another guy come in who was his attorney on the Intelligence Committee, has just, came in. I sat with him at the Trump rally in Detroit, and he's here to help. We're Michigan is ground zero. I mean, everybody understands the Trump campaign. And let me say one other thing about the Trump campaign. And after, we had a new chair, part of the plan with the new chair after Ronna resigned was that we were going to streamline the campaigns, right? The effort. So in 2016, Trump's campaign was entirely the RNC. He was brand new. He had no campaign. He had just started. In 2020, we had parallel organizations working on stuff. And now in 2024, we have a single political director for both the RNC and the Trump campaign. We have a single data director for both the RNC and the Trump campaign. And the Trump co-chair of the campaign, a guy named Chris LaCivita, he's actually the chief of staff for Chairman Whatley, our new RNC chair. So the 2 efforts are totally integrated. The RNC is paying basically for almost everything in the campaign, except for when you see Trump on TV saying, I approve this message. Most of the Trump campaign money is going into TV because they get a big price break, and we're paying for virtually everything else.
So I got a couple of questions for you. On Election Day and leading up to Election Day, I heard for the first time, and I forget the number, and that's why I'm going to ask you here, that we will have X amount of attorneys on hand for poll watchers and poll challengers to call. What is the number of attorneys that the RNC has on hand for Election Day issues? I know that it's in the hundreds or something. Do you know?
Yeah, it is. And, we're still recruiting. I'm sorry, I'm looking down at my phone because I'm texting to see if they have that number yet for Michigan. So we had that in 2020. But again, it was our first reps, right? I mean, we did the best we could, and we're doing way better this time. But we're going to be even better after this because this is our first full-blown attempt to be fully planned and trained. But for example, in the August primary, we had scrimmages going on in all kinds of states. We were running what we wanted to be a scrimmage dry run for all of this stuff, for the phone calls, for the hotline, for the attorney bank, help and all that sort of thing. So yes, there will be a phone number that everybody will have that's a poll worker and poll watcher. And I haven't heard back yet on that.
I heard the number's like 600 attorneys or something.
Yeah, there'll be hundreds. I mean, in North Carolina, they had 500. And Chairman Whatley, who's our new chair, he was the chair of North Carolina at Trump's request after Trump won North Carolina in 2016. And so he became chair of North Carolina in 2018. And in 2020, they had about 500 attorneys just in North Carolina on this hotline concept. Now, we won't have 500 in Michigan, but we'll have many in Michigan, and there'll be a national hotline as well. I mean, there will be, and a lot of these people, it's like Chairman Whatley, our chair. He was in Broward County for the Bush-Gore recount, hanging Chad.
Wow.
Right. So we have a bunch of attorneys who were involved in that stuff, who are back in the fold and understand, what's going on with some of this stuff. So
I think going into I want to make everybody understand that I firmly believe that going into this election cycle, that the Republicans are as prepared as we've ever been, legally, on the groundwork. I've been amazed at it. We've been doing this Trump Force 47 thing since June, and we go, I look back at June till now. I don't hear the concerns as much about election integrity as I did, say, back in June and July. We're trying really hard to get that message out that we're fighting like hell and we're staying on top of it, and that there was a reason why we couldn't stay on top of it as well as we are now in the past. I just want everybody to know that, and that's why we got you on here today to talk about how, there's probably still going to be some issues, guys.
There is.
That's the shape we've ever been.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. We are so far ahead of 2020, but next time we'll be even better than we are now. And of course, what's confusing for a lot of people is, of course, the election in our federal system, the elections are run by the states.
Yeah.
And the rules in the states are very, very different. There are some states where ballot harvesting is legal.
There is too.
Like for example, California. And the first year that ballot harvesting was legal, we got crushed. And we lost all our Republican seats in Orange County. The next time, Republicans are good once we know what the rules are, and we like to play by the rules. And so in Orange County, then the next time we won seats back, and then when they were reelected, we won even bigger. And the Dems were then complaining about the efficiency of our ballot harvesting, where we got the Asian churches involved and the community centers and all these sorts of things. So the rules are different everywhere. And one of the reasons Michigan is so tough, if you look at Florida, for example, I think they have 67 counties, and their election officials are the county officials. So their elections are run in the counties. And so when people would say, well, why when midnight comes in Florida, do they have all the votes counted and everything's done? And that's because in Florida, with only 67 places where they're counting ballots, the Republicans thought, fine, we'll cover those 67 places while they're counting the absentee ballots as they come in. That's okay with us. And so when voting is done, the absentee ballots are counted already.
Right.
In Michigan, our election officials are cities, municipalities, and townships. And so we have approximately 2,000 election offices. And so we have always fought tooth and nail before the whole COVID crisis and all the new, constitutional propositions. We had fought tooth and nail against counting the ballots early because there was no way we could watch 2,000 people, 2,000 locations. We can't get enough people to work, now. So anyway, so elections are very different state to state, but I do have that hotline number. Everybody get your pen and pencil list out if you're listening.
And
the
Kevin
hotline
can
number
put it in the description.
Yeah, the poll worker is the hotline is 517-777-8517.
I got it. Kevin will put it in the description.
Yes, I will.
Another thing I want to talk about, because you mentioned him a couple of times, and that is Chairman Whatley and co-chair Laura Trump.
Yeah.
I got to say, when that announcement came, I don't know, where was that? Back in the spring? When there was a change. I didn't know who Chairman Whatley was. Everybody knew who Laura Trump was, and we could read between the lines here what was going on, and everybody was excited about it. And what an amazing person she is. Just unbelievable she is. And then as we get to know Chairman Whatley a little bit more, what a badass he is. He is thorough. He knows how to make an organization work. I'm just thoroughly impressed. I've been trying like heck to get a significant surrogate here in Jackson, and I think time's running out for that. But of course, the list of names that go on from Ramaswamy and on and on and on. But I tell you what, the person, the surrogate I would like to have is Chairman Whatley. now that I've got to know how he operates, I'm just thoroughly impressed, and I'm sure you are too.
Yeah, send me some dates that you're looking for, and I'll text them. I know him very well. It's interesting.
I did that on purpose, Rob.
Because right. Well, when he came on as chair, it's interesting. He's one of my better friends on the committee before he was chair, because when he came onto the committee as the state chairman, because it's a committeeman, committeewoman, and the state chair of each state make up the national committee. He came right up to me the first day he was on the committee. Says, "Hey, tell me about Mackinac. I want to do something like that." So we've been friends since the first day. And then he was general counsel for the RNC, same time he was state chair, when I was working through trying to keep our delegates, not losing our delegates after the state law. So I was working with him all the time on that. And then, of course, he spent his first few years in Michigan. And as a youngster, Dad was in the service. And then he went to Notre Dame Law School. So he's been in and out of Michigan a lot. He's real familiar with Michigan. He's a friend of Michigan. So, yeah, send me some dates and we'll see if we can.
Yeah, well, I'm just I think what a challenge it would be to have that position. And he does really well. When he talks about a specific state, he talks about them like he's from that state. He is so knowledgeable of, and like you had said, each state's election laws are different. And so there's a different playing field for every state. And you've got to be able to respond on how you're going to work that playing field. And it's quite the feat. I'm just very glad. And boy, he sure lucked out with a mouthpiece like Laura Trump.
She's incredible in the press. She's relentless.
Yeah.
She has young kids.
Yeah.
Eric is awesome also. I was the.
I think Eric might be my favorite Trump.
He's great. In fact, when Michael got elected to chair, I got an elevator door open, and it was Eric and I for a while, and I hosted him down at some farm events and shooting events in the last election cycle. And he is awesome. And Don Jr., I was his warm-up act on a bus tour, a week or 10 days ago. So I was riding around the bus with him, and he's obviously a firebrand. But Laura, how great is she in the press? I mean, she is just incredible and has done a great job and is passionate and is well informed, and people like her. I mean, she goes in and mixes it up. I mean, she's at an event, she'll be right in there talking to people and taking pictures and doing whatever. She doesn't run away onto the bus.
4 years ago, she came to Jackson during the 2020 election cycle. Hank Choke was able to get her to come to Jackson with at the time, Farmers and Ranchers for Trump. Brought her out here to the beautiful Weir farm. And you said it, Hank had a hay wagon in there for a stage and that whole thing like Hank would do. But, after the presentation, she came down off the hay wagon and talked to as many people as she could. I think they were trying to whisk her out of there, that she had to be somewhere else, but she was just kept sticking around. I like her a lot. And, but yeah, we've had her in Jackson before. And then I did have the opportunity along with you over the winter when we were with the Turning Point Action down in Vegas to meet Don Jr. And I'm just amazed on how in touch that family really is with just regular people. And I've always said too, the Democrats have probably tried like hell to dig up some dirt on any of them Trump children, and it is impossible to do. I don't know how they've kept it together for all these years, especially with all the pressure that they've had lately. They just keep plugging along, though. That's a tough group of people, that's for sure.
Anything they find, though, I mean, how's it going to be more damning than Hunter Biden?
Yeah.
It really comes down
but not dig too far, right? Well, and it
just don't smoke crack.
Like we said, anything they accuse us of is 180 degrees pointing the fingers at them. I mean, they say all this, like Trump and his kids, golden spoons, silver spoons, whatever. And they all used to work in the construction sites. And it's like Trump always said before he ran for president, when he walked down the street in Manhattan, it was the workers who would come up to him. It was the people that were running the elevators and sweeping the floors and working the construction sites. And that's the kind of thing. The idea of him working at McDonald's, he can walk into McDonald's and relate to those people like nothing. I mean, it's easy for him. Whereas you see the Dems, they haven't a clue about normal people, quote, normal people.
And I was impressed with the McDonald's thing this weekend, and I watched him take that weird scooper that they have, and with this nice tailored shirt on with his bib. But he scooped out the perfect thing of McDonald's fries. I wouldn't be able to get that many fries in the container ever going through the McDonald's drive-through. You want Trump to serve them fries because they were.
As a cardiologist, I don't recommend McDonald's fries, but I do recommend McDonald's as a place to get a job, learn how to show up on time, get paid, learn some responsibilities, and figure out how to get into the workforce. And that's something that I heard on MSNBC last night. Somebody sent a link on X. And they had Barbara Lee on there talking to the person, and they were making fun of him working there, and they couldn't figure out why he would be working at a McDonald's. Like, what's the point of that? What is their campaign thinking? And that shows you how far out of touch they are with normal people. When you look at how many people eat at McDonald's and worked at McDonald's.
So my wife, who is successful, a professional, Kevin's stepmother, and he'll admit that she's a hard worker. She's the type of person that you would want to employ. I don't care what business you're in. She got her start in McDonald's 2 years, and she's still at near 60 years old, talks about that was the most beneficial way to get into the workforce. It showed teamwork. Apparently they had good management there, but she still talks about to this day
structure,
how it was a great place to start to work. And how kind of I don't know, kind of gave her worth ethic in a way. I'm sure part of that's probably her mother, but
I do, Betty.
But yeah.
Well, it's a training ground, and they always used to say that the Army and McDonald's were the two biggest places where people learned to show up on time. And I think McDonald's, of course. But nowadays a lot of the kids will say, "Oh, well, they're not paying me enough. I need to start at a higher." Whereas obviously, as you know, and your mom knew, you show up, you do a good job, and then they give you a raise. Right. I mean, you prove your worth and then you get a raise. You don't start high and then, oh boy, I need a raise from there. But I didn't work hard enough because they weren't paying me enough. I mean, they just haven't learned that basic concept,
I started at Ponderosa at $2.85 an hour. So, but that's showing my age.
Well, a friend of mine.
In my auto worker job, I was paying, my union dues and working, and I think I was getting paid $3.65 an hour in the mid 70s at an auto plant on a UAW contract. And the guys who'd been there 25 years were making like $4.65 or $4.85 an hour.
A lot of money.
And at $4.85 an hour, they had their place up north. They had their snowmobile, and they were driving around in their new pickup truck.
Yeah, Mama had a finance car. Dad had a finance car.
But that's how.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I have a friend of mine that he started as a fry cook. Actually, got into some trouble when he was young at McDonald's, and now he runs 6-7 McDonald's, like pretty much all the McDonald's in our town in Jackson. He gets paid very well for it. I mean, I never worked fast food as a youngster, but I did right after COVID, had to take a fast food job because I had a drive-through and they could be open, and it taught me a lot as an adult. To do so, but
just going to work as a kid. Teenagers don't go to work as often as they.
Adults don't go to work as often.
Yeah, they think even the 30-year-olds are thinking, well, can I just come in Tuesday, Wednesday at 10 o'clock and I work from home the other days. I mean, it's hard to imagine.
Yeah, I know it. By the way, I wanted to mention something. Every time I do this, so the Trump visit to Detroit on Friday, and I know you were there. I've seen some pictures. Yep. I didn't even know about it. They come at it so fast. I wasn't even aware of it until like maybe Thursday morning. And I remember thinking, should I go to that one? I've been to a lot, you can't hit them all lately. And I thought, should I go to that one? It's closer than Grand Rapids and all that. And I thought, no, I'll skip it. And of course, like I said, this has happened to me before. And I jump on Facebook or something, And my buddy John Smith is back from knocking doors
Oh,
in the
yeah.
UP. And my buddy Rob Steele, he's there and all that. And I'm like, oh,
It would have been a good time.
did I miss a good one? You know,
Missed a good one. Well, they're all interesting. They're all good. We had a big auto worker section. I had my auto worker shirt on. I was back leading some cheers with the auto workers, and we're sitting with Thomas Hitman Hearns, and his whole crew was there, and Chairman Hoekstra had the ambassador from the Netherlands there, and that was kind of interesting. And
that'd be interesting.
But Byron Donalds, we have a place in Naples, and he's my congressman down in Florida. And so I had a chance to talk with him, and he's tremendous. I mean, what a great guy in the press Byron Donalds is. And, they had Trick, the rapper, and they had, it was great.
Oh, man.
And Brian Panebecker, I don't know if you saw Brian, but, Brian, who started the auto workers for Trump and got me the shirt, he crushed it,
I was in Warren. I think the last one I was at Warren. It was a great event. I think it was the town hall structure.
I like that structure.
And I come back and my beautiful wife, she doesn't like to go to a lot of these things, very rarely. I says, Sarah, you're gonna have to go to one of these Trump events with me. We'll get great seats. We can be around some cool people and everything. And she goes, oh, I don't know. And I says, well, I think you're gonna have to do at least one of them. So I expect Trump to be in Michigan probably at least 2 more times before Election Day.
Probably.
Could be
I don't know the schedule. I mean, I typically find out basically when everyone else does. I mean, I had heard about Trump from coming Friday, but didn't know where on the Saturday before, which was very early. That was only because the campaign had called Brian Panebecker, the auto worker guy, to say, hey, we want you there. And so actually Brian was with the motorcade the whole day. And he did 3 events. He went to Hamtramck, opened the office there, and then did the business roundtable up in Oakland County, and then came down to Detroit.
My buddy Randy Guppy up in Newaygo. Oh,
sure, I know Randy.
Yeah. He's done the motorcade, I think, twice now for J.D. Vance when he's in town. They just have fill-ins with them, And he says, he said he didn't think it would be. He says it was the most amazing experience that he ever had in his life to roll down Interstate 96 at 70 mile an hour with police blocking the exits. I thought, well, that sounds like fun. Luckily, we get to sometimes do cool things like that, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great.
Yeah. Rob, thanks for the info. Anything else you want to add to the election integrity for people to know?
No, just, protectthevote.com/Michigan. Go volunteer. We still need help in, they tell me specifically Canton and Wayne County. And we want to really get people into the absentee counting boards to make sure that the ballot stubs do match the poll book, to make sure that the signatures have been checked. See, because this is the thing. I know we have people that know all about voting machines, and they know, and I don't. Okay, that's not my area. But I can tell you that the biggest thing that we need to worry about with fraud is a clean voter roll, absentee ballots, and making sure that the ballot being cast is by the person who it was supposed to. We can't be having stacks of absentee ballot registrations going to apartment buildings where people are in there scooping them up. We need a clean voter roll so that only legal voters are getting applications or getting ballots. And we've got to focus on that. We got to focus on the mechanics of processing those ballots, which include checking the signature, checking the ballot versus the poll book, and then making sure that the ballot has been cast, is marked properly and is counted legally.
I did want to add something I meant to a little bit earlier. You had mentioned it. Ballot harvesting is illegal in Michigan. Some states it is legal. It is illegal. Now, there's a difference between ballot harvesting and chasing the ballots. Chasing the ballots, what we're doing, where we can tell pretty much daily if a person's voted or not. We don't know who you voted for, but we can tell if you voted or not. And then as your name gets crossed off as a person voted, we leave you alone. But if we see that you haven't voted or you have an absentee sitting on your dining room table, expect a door knock from somebody, one of many organizations. to do that. And all we're going to do, that's called chasing the ballot. We're like, hey, what can we do to help you get your ballot? And when do you plan to vote, or help them make a plan? My point here is the reason why I bring this up, back to my wife again. She is an apartment complex manager. Mm-hmm. And you heard of the stories where they would go to senior apartment complexes and just scoop up their ballots, right?
Right.
And if you hear of or know of any of that happening, it is illegal. It is illegal. You cannot, unless you're a direct family member or extenuating circumstances, take a ballot in for another person. If you like 2,000 Mules, where the lady was picking up 1,000 ballots, that is illegal. And if you hear of that, someone needs to know about it. So
absolutely, and that's a great point. And I think, this is the first time there's been an intensive ballot chase effort. And so I think we're going to learn from this too, because what we have to find out and what we have to learn how to do is to make sure, because the big advantage of getting your vote in early is that we can then turn our attention to someone who hasn't voted. So Russ, in your experience with Turning Point or with Chase, how often are you getting an updated list for who's come off the voter rolls?
We've heard that it's up to 2 or 3 days. I was on a call last night, and the way the mail runs. So if you vote, let's say you vote today, it's Monday, we're going to know about it by Wednesday, Thursday. So right. It's a pretty streamlined system. It's not daily that the minute you vote, we know, but it's a pretty streamlined system. Right. I will say something.
That's an example of something we need to learn, right? It's the first time, and we need to make sure our software and the mechanism by which we're updating these, we can do it as quickly as possible, so that once so that the mail to your house gets turned off once you've voted, right? And that you don't have somebody knocking on your door, and that's very, very important.
They explained last night that some municipalities give that update 7 days a week. Most of them only give them 5 days a week. Not every municipality has a daily process of plugging in who's voted and who hasn't. But it has been more streamlined than what is expected. But one more thing, I came back from that Turning Point event way back in February, talking about this whole new thing that no one in Jackson had ever heard of, called chasing the ballot and voting early, and why we should do that. And some people are like, oh my God, we don't want to vote early. And it's been quite the process to convince people to do that, and the reason why. And we've come a long, long way. And this chase the ballot thing, I don't care if it's the Trump Force 47 people or Turning Point. Every organization out there is chasing the ballot of voters to some degree. There's low propensity voters, there's medium, and there's a strategy to all of them. And from what I understand from the call I was on last night, we have done a phenomenal job, way better than what anybody has expected. And I tell people all the time, Rob, thinking back to 2020 and compared to 2024, the enthusiasm across the board is way greater than it was in 2020. We talk about those low propensity voters who didn't vote in 2020. People come in for their Trump sign, and I tell them all the time, I said, listen, you and me both have family members, friends, and neighbors that ran around with the Trump bumper sticker, ran around with the Trump sign, a Trump flag on their pontoon, that didn't vote in 2020. And I tell them all, you got to get these people out to vote. But what's different now is I think a lot of people are kicking themselves in the behind end that they might have missed the opportunity to vote in 2020. And I think turnout, it's already looks like turnout's greater than it's going to be.
And I think a lot of people will turn out that didn't turn out before. And I think a lot of people that voted for Biden will vote for Trump. I think the auto workers and some of the other union members are key. It would, and psychologically for them, it would be way easier for them to vote for Biden than it would be for Harris. We also have the uncommitted vote.
The secret person, the secret Democrat that's going to vote for Trump. I think it's out there.
And there's those. And then we also have, of course, the the vote in Dearborn, where we had the Muslim groups back before the primary, starting this uncommitted process. And their goal was to have 10,000 people vote uncommitted in the primary for Biden, and they had 110,000 people vote uncommitted in the primary.
Nice.
And that whole nationwide movement started out of Dearborn. They've now changed their name, but they have that group nationwide has officially endorsed Dr. Jill Stein, the Green Party candidate. And so it's not likely, a lot of those votes will definitely come off the Democrat side, which we'll take it.
I get it.
And then, of course, in Hamtramck, the Yemeni population is a very different group. There's a very different group of immigrant population in Hamtramck than Dearborn. And that group, I don't know how many votes there, but there'll probably be an increase in 10,000 votes for Trump just in Hamtramck. So, there's these different places where we know we're going to do better, and got to keep chasing the vote. We need workers at protectthevote.com/Michigan, and get up there and vote early.
We're going to let you get out of here, Rob. Thank you very much for the information. It might have been one of the most important streams that we've done in several months.
Yeah, definitely agree.
It was requested.
We covered a lot. Yeah, we covered it. We covered some territory. A lot of detail, though, for the people who want to know what's going on and are thinking that nothing's going on because they don't hear about it or they don't know about it. Everybody wants to think they know everything about what's going on, but we covered some stuff here today that people aren't going to have heard. There's no question.
And the media isn't talking about it, but it's happening. It's happening, people. So thank you, Rob, for coming on. Kevin and I are going to talk about some other issues and sign off for the day, and I appreciate you a whole lot. I always like hanging out with Rob Steele, Kevin.
Okay, man. Thanks, Russ and Kevin. Appreciate
it. Have a great day.
Bye-bye. Oh, and I'll text me the dates on Whatley.
I will do that. Thank you.
All right, good.
Excellent. Thank you, Rob.
All right, Kevin.
That was a very good stream. Real quick.
That's a fast hour.
Tina would like to know if you have a check for her. Yes, it's always a fast hour. Rob is so knowledgeable. Dr. Steele is so knowledgeable, all the time with, he doesn't talk about things he doesn't know about. And I think that's the important thing. I think it's important that people do know that it was a gag order, basically.
It was a gag order.
35 years.
35 years.
We're finally getting back to what we can do. So we're finally getting back to level playing ground.
So some people have told me, and you think about it, I think it's legit. Where they're like, really? Are they feeding us bullshit that they didn't do anything for 35 years and they let this get out of hand? And now they're like, hey, we're under this consent decree, and now we're going to do something. I can see where people might think that, but it wasn't the case. I guess we're really under a gag order. The state GOPs were able to do what they can, but our resources were very limited.
Right.
Now, I'll add something to that. The whole Trump campaign and the RNC pretty much being one and the same right now has made a monster that's unstoppable. Yeah. It's just truly unstoppable. And it's a momentum that I think the Democrats are worried about.
Oh yeah, because they've had all the momentum in that situation.
They have.
Rob had a sign behind him that literally summed up everything we talked about today. It said, make common sense great again or whatever.
Oh, right.
Or bring back common sense, basically. And that's one thing is I don't think common sense is very common lately. Like literally this gag order's restricted us from even questioning. Who's this person, that voted absentee when it could be an illegal immigrant. It could have been a dead person. It could have been a made up person.
I wish we would have talked more about illegals voting. Yeah. I hear it a lot. It doesn't exist on a federal level. It is still federally against the law for a non-citizen to vote in U.S. elections.
Right.
Okay. Now there are some cities, some municipalities that have created a way for illegals to vote in local elections. Okay.
Right.
For mayor and all that. And that's bad enough. It's horrible.
Yeah, that's not right. But it's almost understandable.
When I run for Leone Township trustee, I don't know enough Spanish to collect the South American
Well,
vote.
I think what would stop that is a simple thing, and the Dems have literally fought tooth and nail for this, is IDs.
ID.
If you are an illegal immigrant, you can't have an ID.
And they do have IDs because they're getting driver's licenses.
Now.
So
in California and New Mexico.
I wish we would have brought that up to Rob.
Yeah, we'll have to have him back on soon.
To have that. And we're running out of time here.
Well, I mean, we are, but we aren't, because regardless of what happens in November, this is something that we're trying to fix 30 years of BS.
Yeah.
And like he said, we're doing great this election cycle, but in 2028, we'll be doing better.
Oh, my God. Well,
I mean,
it's too late. If we don't win this election here, I don't know if we'll make it to 28. I kept thinking that when he said it. But they have hired Michigan GOP. I can speak for, I'm sure the other state GOPs and the RNC have hired the best in the business in this.
Oh, yeah.
The best. Kevin, they're all your age. I say it all the time. There is a group of hardcore Republicans, 40 and under, 40 to maybe upper 20s, that are coming fresh out of college, that are so smart
and so passionate. Charlie Kirk.
Charlie Kirk's part of how that exists.
I'd say that's
But these guys are phenomenal. I was on a call last night with a data expert that the RNC has employed. I think the Trump team has employed. And all this guy does is live for numbers and data. He can analyze this to make your head swim. Matter of fact, I was almost cried just listening to him, let alone be him 12 hours a day looking at numbers and data.
And it doesn't stop at 12 hours. He goes to bed and he's...
No, these guys live it.
Yeah.
They might get, I'm sure they get a decent wage. A lot of people are volunteer in this game, but the super smart ones are getting a wage. But you know what? They're living it.
Yeah, you have to. I mean,
it's 7 days a week all the time right now.
I know how our brains work, and we obsess over certain things. And I can only imagine if it was that big of a situation, I don't know how you could not. Just every day, you'd almost have to turn your brain off.
Part of it's a paycheck.
Yeah,
but most of it is they're passionate about what they're doing.
Yeah, or just passionate about numbers.
Yeah. That's like Scott McGraw here in the Trump 47 Jackson headquarters here. He's a 30-year in politics for 30 years. He's been around a long time. And he can definitely just come up here and whatever his wage is, I don't know what it is, and just skate. But no, this guy is serious.
Oh, yeah.
And he takes phone calls 11 o'clock at night on a Sunday, every day. He's here at the office 7 days a week. They're not paying him for that extra hours, but the passion is there that he wants to get this done, and he'll do anything it takes to make that happen.
Absolutely.
But the same thing's with me. I am. I'm not getting paid at all. And I'm in this all the time.
Yeah, you're lucky that you're in a situation where you can. I equate it back to when I was a general manager in Battle Creek. I was getting a very good salary, and then I broke it down. I was working 98 to 100 hours a week, and I'm like, I'm getting paid less than some of the fry cooks. When you really break it down, but it was passion. Right. It's something that I wanted to.
The fry cooks are getting off in an 8-hour shift and going and smoking some weed.
Exactly, and I'm getting the phone calls.
You're still working. No, I guess that's the management part of things.
Yeah, but it was a passion. I mean, it was something that I'm like, I want to make this the best as I can.
Yeah, I'm just thoroughly impressed with the enthusiasm. Maybe I'm in a bubble because I'm here in Trump Tower every day and I'm around it, but I'm feeling it even out in the streets.
You said something, and I've thought about it yesterday. Actually, is there was a time where I'm like, oh crap, a year ago, say right in there, I'm like, oh man, like I don't know what we're gonna do. I don't think we're gonna win it, and literally just from talking to people, feeling things out. Yesterday was the first day when I went, oh, I think we got a shot at this.
Boy, I tell you what, I think the Harris campaign's running scared a little bit.
Well, she's putting out just insane campaign ads that are literal misinformation. I mean,
No, they are.
It's like they have the little girl crying, like, I got raped by my dad, and Mike Rogers is going to make it illegal that I couldn't have aborted that baby. That's not actually even a thing.
Not in Michigan.
No, that's a federally.
Well, that we're a full abortion state.
Yeah.
You want to kill babies?
It's just limited you can't kill babies late term.
You even can in Michigan. We are an abortion state.
Under circumstances.
So when they take that false information that might pertain to other states, okay, it's in the Michigan Constitution to where you can abort children up until birth in Michigan. We are an abortion state. That cannot be changed. And that's what Trump keeps saying. They're like, oh, well, Trump screwed us with those 3 Supreme Court justices that overturned Roe v. Wade. Okay. Well, yep, they did. Yay. But I will say, like Tudor Dixon says, we weren't prepared what we've been praying for 40 years.
Right.
But my point here is that it's on the states. So what did the state of Michigan do? They passed it to where this is an abortion state. There's nothing that Mike Rogers can do about it, that Trump can do about it. It is abortion. It's horrible as it is, but it's a campaign trick on low common sense voters.
It's not even that. I don't think it's low common sense. I think it's your general voters that aren't into it, because everybody thinks that the overturning Roe versus Wade made it illegal to abort everything. No. All Roe versus Wade did is gave the states the opportunity to decide what they wanted to do with it.
Yeah.
And when they overturned, because it was federally protected under Roe versus Wade.
Yeah.
We got rid of Roe versus Wade, so now every state, they get to make the rules. That's the way it should be.
Michigan is an abortion state.
Right.
Indiana, don't think about it.
California, just anytime. You can kill me at like 3 years old.
Yeah. Ohio, a little more of a mix, but you like in Indiana, don't even think about getting an abortion.
Texas, Florida.
That's right. Michigan, abort away.
Yeah. But also in those states like Texas, Florida, Ohio, if you are a victim of incest, rape, things like that, there are, I guess, circumstances that even those states will allow it.
Yeah, I know.
And
every state is different. That's what they've set it up. I
found a website. I'll have to put it in the description that really went over everything each state really well.
People got to realize that this is the way this nation was set up. The more that you could put on a local level, the better off we are. Okay, it's horrible that Michigan's an abortion state, but the voters of the state of Michigan selected that. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the way it should be.
Yeah, and well, actually, beyond that, as far as this country was formed because of a problem with, I guess the version of a federal government, and the federal government was never supposed to be this big. Was never supposed to. It was always supposed to be the states, your local municipalities, the people, and not the federal government going, well, this is what I said. No. That George Washington would bite you with his wooden teeth over this shit.
We're so far away from returning to that.
Yeah, and it will never go back. It'll never happen.
Although it's got to start somewhere, and I tell you, it's hard. I've grown up in a federalist type nation where we're not supposed to be, and
we don't know anything different.
That's right. We don't know anything different. So here I am about to sit on a local township board. Okay, and it's just a local board, and I try to think to myself, always say no to any expansion of government.
I agree.
But it's hard to remember that because we're so used to it. So, but I've been really, really trying to train my mind when I take that position. Whenever an issue comes up, I need to ask myself, is this an expansion of government?
Yeah.
And if it is an expansion of government, the answer is no.
And that's tough. You're right. That's tough to do. And I just think we're so used to it. Asking the government. Well, I don't know. Ask the government. You just do what is right. Do what you want to do. It's insane.
Do you remember? I think John Smith was on the show a couple months ago. We were up here in Trump Tower, and we were talking about ordinances.
Oh yeah, the hot dog thing.
Yeah. And this is how you get distorted. But John really had a good point. All right. So your neighbor has 2 junk cars in the yard.
Yep.
Okay. I have a neighbor right now with a junkyard car in the garden.
That
I don't
was
give
the
a
Adam
shit.
Stockwell episode.
It isn't bothering me.
Yeah.
Too many times, instead of going over and saying, "Hey, neighbor, did you remove that garbage from your yard?" They automatically run to the township to have the zoning administrator or the ordinance officer come out and deal with this.
And they go telling themselves what they do.
And I know you don't want conflict. But there's a nice way. Hey, I live 12 foot apart. The garbage that you haven't removed in 2 weeks is starting to be a problem to all of us. And see where that goes.
My cats are sick.
It turns into that Karen situation,
But again, we were forced into it because it goes right along with the one thing I push. We are the only time. This is the only time in American history I can hate you because you didn't vote for the guy I voted for.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And it's the same thing where, I'm not going to go over and deal with that guy. He's an asshole. I'm just going to go down and yell at the township, and let them handle it. Well, you let them handle it. That causes that's more control.
More control.
And guess what? That means that ordinance officer also look at your yard.
That's right.
Look at your roof.
Kevin, I lived it, and when I had them meth heads live next door, but the thing is that I was like, "Hey, meth head, you guys got to clean your shit up here. Okay, I don't care. You can sit in that house and get as high as you want.
Right.
I do not care.
Fight all the shadow people.
And please, just work with me here." And they didn't. It got worse and worse. And I finally pulled the trigger and put an ordinance complaint on them.
Well, that's the way it should be.
But let me tell you what happened when that happened. I had one complaint.
Right.
Once that ordinance officer shows up, it's on, buddy.
Yeah.
They started violating things across the board.
They lost everything.
To the point to where I wasn't even comfortable. I really didn't care about that junk car.
Right.
I cared about the garbage that was in the yard that I personally addressed prior to making that, and that's the way that's supposed to be.
Well, they took the Band-Aid off the wound, and that's the way it is.
Oh yeah, once the Leone ordinance officer got involved. Oh man.
Well, he's bored anyway.
There was a list of 14 to 20 things.
That's insane. If people would just if we just get along with each other and we'll come to a compromise. If I'm not hurting you, you're not hurting me. We're all good. Then we don't have to deal with that. Now, if you're being an asshole about it and not, you are hurting me and you're not doing anything about it, then we have to involve daddy.
The garbage in your yard, and now I got rats in my yard, or I'm smelling the garbage, is a problem. But you really need to attempt to take care of it on your own.
Yeah. Hey, man, can you just...
They'll probably tell you to fuck off. Yeah. But that's when you say, okay.
The thing is like, oh man, if you can't afford garbage or whatever, throw a bag in my thing, or you know what, I'll have Matt come by and grab and throw it in the truck. We'll take it away for you.
Honestly, they could have used my dumpster. I don't know if Alex would be too excited about that, but more than likely he'd deal with it.
Yeah, in that situation though, Alex would be okay.
Yeah,
it would work. But people won't do that. They go, screw up.
Kevin, we're coming close. We're just looking at the calendar. You can tell me 14 days or whatever many days
14
you want.
days.
I had to physically look at the calendar, how many shows we have prior. So we've got three Tuesdays.
3 Tuesdays.
3 Mondays.
Well, Mondays, yeah. So counting the week of.
Do that again. Oh, my phone's dying.
Well, it would be 2 Mondays because next week would be that's Halloween week, or is this Halloween week?
No, I'll get it right here. So we have 3 Mondays. So today, next Monday, and then the Monday before election.
Election eve.
And we were talking before the stream how we should probably do, since we've got a stream the day before election.
Yeah, we should do something.
Primary election day. We should do something. My mind is not. I don't have an idea.
I'll start thinking. I'll come up.
We should do something
between the two of us. We'll come.
Or we should just take it off.
I don't think that's. I don't think that's a good idea.
We should.
I think that's
I think it should be at
missing
least
a huge opportunity for
continue election updates. We need as many as election updates next Monday, the following Monday,
and I can work on that.
Our when to vote, how to vote.
Yep.
Do you need a ride to get to vote?
Yep.
By other fact, when we come next Monday, early voting will have started.
Yep.
In Jackson.
Everywhere.
Yeah. At minimum, you have to start Saturday.
Yeah.
Detroit's already started early voting. You can start early. You have to, at minimal, start 9 days.
Okay.
Whatever the date, and that's the 26th, this upcoming Saturday. So Let's run through some stuff here.
Real quick before we get to your stuff, I was going to ask Rob and I forgot. So these election workers that they need Canton and Wayne, right?
Yeah, Wayne County.
You
City
don't,
of Detroit.
Do you have to be from those counties? Okay, that was my question. So anybody out there, you can go hang out in Wayne County or wherever.
Where's that at again? What's the website?
I have it written somewhere. Protectthevote.com/Michigan.
Yeah, go there and you get $150 to hang out in the TCF Center or wherever for the day.
I'm sure they feed you
to help protect our election. They have a good point. Both watchers and challengers are important, but when you're a worker, you're part of the system.
Well, that, like I said, everybody out there is like, well, I wish I could do something about this and
There's
that.
something to
well,
do.
This is and everybody wants you to volunteer, and I understand how hard that can be, but this is a way for you to make a big difference and
huge
get paid for it.
Get paid, yeah.
And I mean that is a big motivation. I mean that's my motivation to do anything.
I haven't heard all the way, but there is a little bump in the road here in the city of Jackson. 98 poll workers for the city, and there's only 36 Republican poll workers they had listed.
So we need about.
So I sent that
more?
to the Michigan GOP to say, hey, it should be 50.
Yeah.
Right. So
there's 96 altogether.
96
altogether.
Workers.
Oh, there are 96. How many are allowed?
96.
Okay, got it.
Now, wait. Here's the thing. These people are already hired. Was it because Republicans didn't apply? I don't know if there's still an opportunity to help balance this out by applying for the city of Jackson or not. But there is a discrepancy.
It can't hurt.
It's 36 Republicans and the rest are Democrats out of 98.
Yeah.
So you do the math. We're upside down.
Yeah. I see. Okay, I understand. So you need what? 45 would be 90.
Sounds like we're
44 people. We need
14 people shy of making it 50-50.
Yeah. And then they'd have to make that move.
I think they're if they only employ 98, and they're going to have to tell some Democrats they got to go home that day, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so.
Yeah. So go to protectthevote.com/Michigan.
Yeah.
And find out. I'll call Sarah today. She's going to be pleased to hear from me on that one. But it is thing now. In the townships in Jackson, we're legit.
Yeah.
I don't know. There might be. How when you vote in the townships, in Jackson and most rural townships, it's been the same old election ladies for
the same old ladies
33 decades. 30 years.
One super nice, one super grouchy,
and one might be a Republican or a Democrat, and you don't know or care. They don't really,
and they won't tell you either.
No. So, any more questions?
No, I'm all set. You go ahead and do.
I think we had a pretty good stream today.
No, I was watching the stream health. By the way, we are live on YouTube today, as well as Rumble. Facebook for some reason didn't work. I'll look into that.
Okay.
But the YouTube is youtube.com/stick to the plan.
Go through here, jxngop.org. Primarily what's on there right now is the nonpartisan voter guide for Jackson
County. I wanted
County.
to grab one of those.
I got one. So all those nonpartisan judges you don't know about who to vote for, they're on there. They're on there. That would be the ones that we recommend. You can pull it right off jxngop.org or come up here to Trump Tower and pick one up. There is a MAGA rally this Thursday at 5:00. Okay. At the corner of East Washington and Cooper. That's where we always do them.
Right there.
Decorate your car so that you can see them from the road. Bring your flags, your signs, your banners. We'll put 100 people out there on the corner like we've done before and have a MAGA rally. But
we had a good time the one I went to.
Yeah, the primary reason for this particular MAGA rally is to get rid of these Trump signs. Jackson County has given away 8,000 Trump signs.
8,000.
They dumped another couple thousand on us a week ago. I bet you I'm down to 400. They are doing no good inside a room. I want them in the ground. So, people, this is going to be your last week to get Trump signs at Trump Tower. If you're getting them after now, you're way late to the game.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
we've been doing this
you're
since
just a collector
July.
at that point.
All right. People are, how do I get a Trump sign? If you don't know how to get a Trump sign by now, you just woke up or something. I don't know what's going on. But you can get them Thursday, 5 to 7. Pull up. We'll hand you a Trump sign. while you're waiting at the traffic signal.
Easy peasy,
All right.
lemon squeezy.
Yeah. The Jackson County Convention will be November 15th. We will be selecting new executive committee members, and we have decided that on that same date, we will check the new officers. I am running for chairman again. I think I'm unopposed. I don't know. We'll find out.
I should run against
someone wants to run against me, come on at it.
I'd be terrible at it, but
Yeah.
it'd be funny at least.
The Grand New Party. What's the website for Grand New Party?
GNPPAC.com.
GNPPAC. All right, guys. If you're simple,
It's in the description.
if you're simple-minded like me, Grand New Party.
Yep. GNP.
GNP. PAC.
PAC.
PAC.com.
Yep.
Anyway,
there we go.
prior to county convention,
Uh-huh.
prior to state convention that will come up in February, the Grand New Party has the Precinct Delegate Action Caucus.
Okay.
And that is a great new way for precinct delegates or non-precinct delegates to join in and learn how to be a Republican activist. All right. It's kind of cool. Shane Trejo put that togetder.
Yeah, no,
We like Shane.
I love Shane, so I might go to that. See.
Trump 47, TrumpForce47.com. Learn how to help out. We still need helpers. We still need helpers to help get Donald Trump elected.
Yeah, they're coming down to crunch time, guys.
And RescueMichigan.com. I don't know. That's one of my every Sunday podcasts.
Yeah.
Political podcast.
I enjoy it.
And then
I catch it here and there.
tune into Bigger Truth Media. My God, I have to pee, or else we would talk more about it. But
yeah, we're about at our cutoff time anyway.
yeah, and then that's it.
Yeah. Awesome, guys. Well, make sure you go to that YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube. Always like, follow on Rumble. All the information should be in the description by this afternoon. And other than that, we'll see you next week. We don't have.
No, I'll get one.
We'll figure it out, guys.
Amen.
So vote early, vote. Period.
Vote.
And we'll see y'all next week. And that's all I got. Anything else?
That's it.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time here on Stick to Plan Podcast.
All right. See you guys.
Bye. Wrong button. Oh, come on. See, this only just makes me look stupid, which is fine. There it is. See you later, guys.